Hey folks, my name's Ed Travers. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm an Anglican priest serving in the beautiful parish of St. Margaret of Scotland. It sits on the ancestral and on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Way. I want to tell you about an interesting conversation I just had. The conversation with a friend of mine. A friend that I failed. They had asked me to do something a while back. I thought I had done it. I thought I had replied to what they had requested. Turns out that I didn't. But my friend was very gracious and very loving and gave me another chance. And that extra chance led to a deep conversation. And in this deep conversation, they shared a whole lot about themselves and about people like them. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of it, though I will say this friend is a friend of all of ours and someone that many of us love. The details they shared were eye-opening. They talked about how I could communicate better with people within this community. They talked about some of the things that the people of this community go through, some of the statistics that are available to us if we're looking. They talked about some of the struggles, some of the life-changing, life-threatening struggles that members of this particular community go through. I'm very grateful for what they shared with me, and I'm hoping that I was able to convey as much. But what they offered was so big. Like so many things in life, right? We have an experience and it teaches us something about that particular experience within that particular context. But if we're smart, we can take what we learned from that moment and we can apply it to so many other parts of our life. What they shared with me, I will be able to apply to the other parts of my life, to my encounters with other people, to my encounters with other individuals and organizations and people groups. If I'm smart enough to remember what they shared, and if I'm bold enough and courageous enough to apply what they've taught me. Now, what I said to my friend, and this I think is one of my big takeaways, something that I'm hoping to share with you, and I'm hoping to share with the world, really. Two things. The first is that I can't remember anyone who shared with me the experiences of the people in this community that my friend belongs to the way my friend did. It was deep, it was impactful, it was filled with passion, it was filled with engaging language, it was incredibly personal and yet expansive. And that information, as I said, will do me a lot of good as I grow as an individual. The second thing is that I have never gone out into the world seeking out the information that my friend shared with me. I've never gone out and asked questions about, oh, I wonder what it's like to be a member of this community. I wonder what it's like to be a person who has to go through this. What are their experiences like? What are their lives like? What's it like to communicate? What's it like to be seen in the world? How are they perceived by others? How do they feel that they are perceived by others? I never thought to ask any of those questions. Now, we are all really busy. We're all really busy. And there are a whole lot of different people groups within our communities, let alone the whole world. There are a lot of different people groups within within our lives that we come in contact with every single day and may not know it. And so a part of me says, you know what? It's acceptable. It's acceptable that the moment had never come along that would make you go out into the world and ask those kinds of questions about this particular group. I get it. I get that. Like, it's just it would be a huge deal if we all took it upon ourselves to go out and try to learn everything we possibly could about every particular group. But while I think we can cut ourselves a little bit of slack in not going out and proactively seeking out information about these other groups, it's inexcusable for us not to listen. It's inexcusable. It would be inexcusable for me not to listen and not to accept the story that's being offered to me by a person like my friend. It would be absolutely inexcusable for me to say, oh, no, I'm not listening to this. I don't need this. I don't want this. It makes me feel bad about myself. It would be absolutely inexcusable for me to say, oh, that's the past. That's the past. There's no reason for us to get into this anymore. It would be absolutely inexcusable for me to say, well, there's not that many of them. When somebody comes along and tells us their story, tells us their experience, when they come along and they tell us about what it's like to be them, about what it's like to be in their shoes, they're offering us an incredible gift. The ability to empathize with a segment of our population. It's a gift. We don't have to go out and do the research, and we don't have to go out and read, and we don't have to go out and watch videos. We just have to open these things on the sides of our heads. We just have to open these things in the front of our faces, not our mouth. We just have to be willing to listen. We have to be willing to see. We have to be willing to accept their experiences as important, as valuable, as precious. And if we're willing to do that, if we're willing to accept what others offer us, what others share with us, oh, we are the ones who are left richer. Yes, it certainly helps members of those other groups to share. It certainly helps with the relationships, absolutely. But we're the ones who are left richer because we get to grow. We get to learn. We get to see the world from what could be a slight or a drastically different perspective. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that we would all be willing to listen when someone is sharing themselves with us. That we would all be willing to listen when somebody shares their story or the story of their community or the story of their people with us. That we would recognize that it would be inexcusable for us to shut down what it is they're trying to offer. That it would be a waste of a great gift. It would be the loss of a wonderful treasure that they are offering us. Amen. Nemultus.